In the aftermath of the recent elections, the Democratic Party is grappling with significant challenges as it seeks to regain its footing against a resurgent Republican opposition. This situation has been further complicated by the political dynamics following President Donald Trump's return to office, which has sparked a wave of introspection within the party. Tim Walz, the Minnesota governor and former vice presidential nominee, has publicly shouldered the blame for the Democratic Party's current predicament, asserting that the nation would not be facing its present difficulties if he and Kamala Harris had secured victory in the 2024 election. During an appearance on MSNBC's All In with Chris Hayes, Walz expressed frustration over the state of American politics, stating, "I own this. We wouldn't be in this mess if we would have won the election, and we didn't." His comments reflect a broader discontent within the party regarding its inability to effectively counter Trump's policies, which Walz characterized as incredibly disruptive. He criticized Trump for implementing tariffs on Canadian goods, closing the U.S. border, and proposing cuts to educational funding, all of which he claims have adversely affected the lives of many Minnesotans. Despite his disdain for Trump, Walz acknowledged that some of the former president's policies resonate with the American public. He noted, "We have not provided what that alternative looks like, and I think it's fair." This admission underscores the Democrats' struggle to present a compelling counter-narrative to Trump's administration, particularly as they prepare for a contentious legislative battle in Congress. The immediate political landscape is fraught with tension as the Republican-controlled House has passed a funding bill that Trump supports, which is now headed to the Senate. This budget proposal, approved by a narrow margin of 217 to 213, increases defense spending while cutting non-defense expenditures, a move that Democrats argue would severely undermine healthcare, food assistance, and veterans' benefits. As the Senate prepares for a showdown, Democrats face pressure to either align with GOP priorities or risk a government shutdown. In Georgia, the GOP is already gearing up for the 2026 Senate race, viewing it as a critical opportunity to expand its majority. With incumbent Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff facing challenges in a state that Trump won by a slim margin in 2024, Republicans are eyeing potential candidates such as Governor Brian Kemp. Kemp has hinted at a possible Senate run, emphasizing the need for a Republican to reclaim the seat. As the political chess game continues, the stakes are high not just for the Democratic Party but for the entire legislative agenda, as both parties prepare for what promises to be a fiercely contested battle leading up to the midterms. The Democrats' ability to unify their messaging and present a viable alternative to Trump's policies will be crucial in determining their fate in upcoming elections. With the landscape shifting rapidly, all eyes will be on how party leaders navigate these challenges in the coming months, as the potential for significant political turnover looms large on the horizon. In a politically charged climate where loyalty often trumps principle, a conservative voice is stepping forward to critique not just the actions of former President Donald Trump but the broader trajectory of the Republican Party. Des Potas, an opinion columnist for USA Today, argues that genuine conservatism requires a willingness to hold one's party accountable, especially when it strays from foundational principles. The essence of his argument centers around the belief that a robust critique of the GOP is essential for the party's long-term health and integrity. Potas begins by addressing the backlash he receives for publicly criticizing Trump, with many labeling him a Republican in name only, rhino, or even a Democrat in disguise. He counters these accusations by asserting, "I'm more conservative than the vast majority of those people might think." This assertion lays the groundwork for his argument that criticism is not only permissible but necessary to strengthen conservatism. We should not be scared of criticizing our leaders as a way to strengthen conservatives in the future, he emphasizes, highlighting a commitment to the principles that many believe the GOP has abandoned. The crux of Potas's critique lies in his assertion that the Trump administration has eroded the moral and ideological foundations of the Republican Party. He cites Trump's penchant for expanding executive power, flouting established norms and personal character issues as significant departures from traditional conservative values. This departure has, according to POTUS, led to a broader abandonment of core principles such as limited government and free markets, which were once cornerstones of Republican ideology. Moreover, POTUS expresses concern regarding the current GOP's alignment with Trump, indicating that the party's support for policies like increased tariffs and a challenge to the separation of powers represents a troubling trend. He argues that this alliance undermines the party's ability to legislate a coherent conservative agenda, even when it holds majority control in Congress. This shift is also reflected in the media landscape, where POTUS observes that conservative outlets have begun to mirror the failings of mainstream media by providing uncritical support for Republican politicians and failing to inform voters adequately. The teardown of the party's principles led to the reshaping of the GOP for the single purpose of enabling Trump to win elections, POTUS notes. He posits that this focus on short-term electoral victories has been detrimental to the party's integrity and effectiveness. He believes that a win-at-all-costs mentality can have cascading effects on the political fabric of the nation, stressing, "I do not believe that one election can doom the country, but several consecutive election cycles that tear down political norms can stress the fabric of our republic." Looking to the future, POTUS remains steadfast in his position that a return to conservative principles is essential, even if it means opposing Trump and the current GOP leadership. He acknowledges that his calls for accountability may seem unrealistic, but he believes that fostering a healthier political environment requires courage and integrity. "I know this is an unrealistic ask, but I'll keep asking, and people can keep emailing me about how they disagree," he concludes, underscoring his commitment to principled conservatism. As the GOP continues to navigate its identity in the post-Trump era, voices like POTUS's may play a crucial role in shaping the party's future. His insistence on accountability and a return to foundational principles serves as a reminder that the strength of a political movement often lies in its willingness to critique itself and adapt for the betterment of its ideals. The evolution of the Republican Party remains a pivotal narrative as the nation looks ahead to upcoming elections and the potential for a renewed conservative vision. In a significant political shift, Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire has announced that she will not seek re-election in 2026, marking the end of a storied career that began when she became the first woman to serve as both governor and senator in the United States. Her decision, shared in a heartfelt video on social media, has dealt a considerable blow to the Democratic Party, which is facing challenging prospects as it aims to reclaim the Senate majority. Shaheen, who turned 78 in January, stated today, "After careful consideration, I'm announcing that I have made the difficult decision not to seek re-election to the Senate in 2026. It's just time." The timing of her announcement comes as the political landscape grows increasingly complex, with the Republican Party currently holding a 53-seat majority in the Senate against the Democrats' 47, which includes 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats. The midterm elections in 2026 will prove pivotal not only for the Senate balance of power but also for President Donald Trump's legislative agenda, which could be impacted by the outcome. Despite a potential difficult environment for the GOP, historical trends suggest that the party in power often faces challenges during midterms. However, with Shaheen's retirement, Republicans are poised to seize opportunities in New Hampshire, Michigan, and Minnesota, where other Democratic incumbents have also announced their retirements. Republican leaders have reacted to Shaheen's decision with enthusiasm, viewing it as an opportunity for a shift in New Hampshire's political landscape. "Another one," tweeted Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, who leads the Senate Republican campaign arm, highlighting the sentiment among Republicans that the state is ready for change. As Democrats grapple with the implications of Shaheen's departure, potential successors are emerging. Congressman Chris Pappas is seen as a leading candidate for the Democratic nomination. He expressed gratitude towards Shaheen in a statement acknowledging her legacy as a trailblazer. If Pappas runs and wins, he would make history as the first openly gay man to serve in the U.S. Senate. Another contender could be Representative Maggie Goodlander, who has also been mentioned in discussions about Shaheen's seat. On the Republican side, Former Governor Chris Sununu, who recently left office, is reportedly considering a Senate run which could complicate Democrats' efforts to retain the seat. Sununu's popularity and previous gubernatorial success make him a formidable candidate. Additionally, former Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown has expressed interest in returning to the political arena, having previously challenged Shaheen unsuccessfully in 2014. The implications of Shaheen's retirement extend beyond personal political ambitions. They signal a potential reconfiguration of political power in New Hampshire, a state with a history of electing candidates from both parties. "But we also have a lot of things going for us," said Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, suggesting that the political dynamics could shift by 2026. Jeanne Shaheen's legacy in New Hampshire politics is substantial, having served as governor for 3 terms before her election to the Senate in 2008. She has emphasized her commitment to continue working for the people of New Hampshire and the nation until her term concludes. "There are urgent challenges ahead, both here at home and around the world. And while I'm not seeking re-election, believe me, I am not retiring," she declared. As the political landscape in New Hampshire evolves, all eyes will be on the unfolding Senate race, which promises to be a fiercely contested battle with significant implications for both parties. The next few months will be critical as potential candidates position themselves and the state prepares for a campaign that could be one of the most expensive and closely watched in its history. In a notable development for the U.S. labor landscape, the Department of Labor has announced a significant slate of senior political appointments under Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer. These appointments are intended to bolster the department's commitment to prioritizing the needs of American workers and retirees, aligning with the administration's broader economic agenda. The announcement, made on March 13, 2025, comes as the country navigates a complex economic environment with ongoing discussions about workforce development, safety regulations, and the evolving nature of labor in the United States. At the helm of the Bureau of International Labor Affairs, John Clark will serve as a policy advisor, bringing experience from his previous role in trade and transportation policy. His appointment underscores the administration's focus on international labor issues, which are increasingly relevant in a globalized economy. Clark is a graduate of the University of Hawaii at Manoa and Florida State University, and his expertise is expected to play a critical role in shaping U.S. trade relations. The Employment and Training Administration will see Amy Simon stepping in as Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary. Simon has a robust background, having previously founded a consulting firm and served in a similar capacity during the first Trump administration. Merrick Lako has been appointed as Chief of Staff for the agency following his work in workforce development policy for the House Committee on Education and the Workforce, further emphasizing the administration's commitment to effective workforce strategies. In the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, Amanda Wood-Lyhow will serve as Deputy Assistant Secretary, bringing a wealth of experience from her previous role as a commissioner on the Occupational Safety and Health Review Commission. Her appointment is particularly significant given the ongoing discourse around workplace safety, especially in industries facing scrutiny for their labor practices. Alongside her, Michael Asplund will act as Senior Policy Advisor, lending his expertise from previous roles in labor policy and legal counsel. The Office of Congressional and Intergovernmental Affairs has appointed Joe McFarland as a Senior Legislative Officer. His previous experience working directly with Secretary Chavez DeRemer will facilitate a smoother legislative process as the department seeks to advance its priorities in Congress. Similarly, the Office of Disability Employment Policy has welcomed Brian Walsh, whose background in labor policy will be crucial in addressing the employment needs of individuals with disabilities. Further solidifying its public image, the Office of Public Affairs has appointed Courtney Perella as Deputy Assistant Secretary and Aaron Britt as Chief of Staff. Both individuals bring extensive communication and strategic experience from their previous roles on Capitol Hill, positioning the department to effectively convey its initiatives to the public and stakeholders. The continued focus on labor issues reflects a critical moment in U.S. history where discussions about workers' rights, job security, and economic stability are paramount. With appointments spanning various divisions of the Department of Labor, the administration appears poised to tackle these challenges head-on. As these new leaders step into their roles, the impacts of their policies will likely resonate across multiple sectors, influencing everything from workplace safety standards to international labor relations. Observers will be keen to see how these appointments translate into tangible outcomes for American workers in the coming months and years, particularly as the country heads into a crucial election cycle. The appointments signal a renewed commitment to labor issues, but their effectiveness will ultimately depend on the administration's ability to navigate the complexities of governance and public sentiment in an increasingly polarized political landscape. In a significant move that could reverberate through the ongoing discourse surrounding LGBTQ rights in the United States, North Dakota lawmakers are on the cusp of becoming the first state to formally request the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn its landmark 2015 ruling that legalized same-sex marriage nationwide. This resolution, which passed through the Republican-controlled House in February, now awaits Senate approval, although its future remains uncertain. The resolution's lead sponsor, Republican Representative Bill Tavit, contends that the original Supreme Court ruling violates both the 10th Amendment and the state's own constitution. Every one of us in this building took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state, he stated, framing the measure as a necessary assertion of state sovereignty. However, the resolution has sparked considerable backlash, particularly among North Dakota's LGBTQ community and their allies. Laura Ballier, an attorney and member of the North Dakota National Guard, shared her feelings of alienation and anger before a Senate panel, stating, "I don't know what this resolution does other than to tell people like myself, my friends, and my family that we're not welcome here." Her comments reflect a broader sentiment that the resolution serves as a rejection of the very identities and marriages that many North Dakotans hold dear. Interestingly, the push to challenge the Supreme Court's ruling is not limited to North Dakota. Similar efforts are underway in a handful of other states, primarily driven by organizations like Mass Resistance, which has been labeled an anti-LGBTQ hate group by advocacy organizations such as GLAAD. While North Dakota's resolution has gained some traction, other states have seen limited success in moving similar measures forward. The implications of this legislative effort extend beyond mere rhetoric. Democratic Senator Ryan Brownberger, who is openly gay, described the measure as a slap in the face to North Dakotans who are invested in their state. He emphasized the detrimental message it sends at a time when North Dakota is striving to grow its population and bolster its economy. "We want to make sure that we bring everybody in the best of the crop, and that runs the gamut of all sorts of different races, ethnicities, sexual orientations through that," Brownberger articulated, highlighting the importance of inclusivity in economic development. Legal experts have raised concerns that the resolution could infringe upon the Establishment Clause of the U.S. Constitution by framing marriage in a way that aligns closely with particular religious beliefs. Cody Schuler, advocacy manager for the American Civil Liberties Union of North Dakota, warned that defining marriage through a religious lens could have far-reaching consequences, potentially setting a precedent that allows for discrimination against various groups. As the North Dakota legislature deliberates the future of this resolution, the larger national conversation around LGBTQ rights and marriage equality continues to evolve. Federal protections for same-sex marriage have been bolstered in recent years, with states like California, Colorado, Hawaii, and Nevada repealing outdated amendments that previously defined marriage as exclusively between one man and one woman. Meanwhile, the federal government enacted a law in 2022 that further solidified protections for same-sex marriage. The outcome of North Dakota's legislative efforts could serve as a bellwether for similar movements across the country. As societal attitudes continue to shift and legal battles unfold, the implications of this resolution may resonate well beyond the state's borders, shaping the future of marriage equality in America. In a landscape marked by both progress and resistance, The stakes remain high as advocates and opponents alike prepare for the next chapter in this ongoing struggle for civil rights.